You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Cricket Podcast, where we are halfway through our big T20 World Cup team preview, where we're picking teams and we're being really negative about them because we've got a superiority complex because we support England and England are good and England have got their shit together. And that's what we do, is it? It's English exceptionalism, as often gets pointed out in our comments when we talk about cricket. But we are exceptional. So, as I said on the last show,
not our fault.
White ball people.
You do well as well, don't they? So that's half of our fans. So
yeah. Look, join in the superiority. 62% of our YouTube viewers. India, England. Yes, we're sponsored by Woodstock Cricket TCP 25 to get 25% off your bat and softs. Patreon.com/the cricket pod. If you want to be a Patreon, get priority questions and a bunch of other stuff, maybe a hat. We are doing this country by country. We've done some of the countries. We're going to start this set of countries with Afghanistan, who've been the talk of the town, not just in a cricketing sense, in the last few weeks. So Afghanistan, they've had an interesting few weeks in cricket as well as not in cricket. Did you know, fellas, that less than half an hour before the Afghan squad was announced, their captain resigned? Rashid Khan stepped down, saying the selection committee and the Afghan cricket board has not obtained my consent for the team, which has been announced by the ACB media squad or media people. That's not a good start, is it, Ross?
Well, when you've got your elite level player, your only elite level player, and he's your captain, and he's literally the guy flying the flag.
What are you saying about Mohammed Shahzad?
Yeah, he's like your elite level food eating competitor for Afghanistan, not Rashid Khan. Like, Rashid Khan is like, you need to be doing everything you possibly can do to keep Rashid Khan happy if you're Afghanistan. This was not a good move, I don't think.
Yeah, I think we've seen better, is what I would say.
Yeah, look, for PR purposes, the Afghanistan Cricket Board had a big job to do here to try and bring back some of the things that's going to be lost by the Taliban banning women's cricket, and instantly they failed.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. They could have announced, that Superman and Spider-Man were going to be lining up for Afghanistan at this T20 World Cup. I'm not sure the PR success would have made us forget about the Taliban banning women's cricket. I mean, by rights, Afghanistan should probably not be playing at this tournament if they're going to ban.
They shouldn't. They definitely shouldn't. That's they've got a PR disaster on their hands.
That's a slight understatement, Ross, I think.
Yeah, just a slight one.
Yeah.
If you can't laugh at this kind of stuff, Max, then what can you do? Then they win, and you don't want them to win, Max.
There you go.
The Mohammed Nabi's now captain, isn't he?
Right. Yeah. So let's get back to the cricket. Because they didn't start very well. It didn't get much better because they're the only team so far to name 18 players in their squad when they were supposed to be naming a squad of 15. So they've
got an advantage. Is what we're saying.
Maybe they'll do this on the day. It's like, Mr. Nabi, you've got 12 men on your team sheet there. Like, that's how we roll. They've named two extra like floating guys. Most teams have named 15 plus 3 reserves. Afghanistan have named 18 plus 2 reserves. So nobody really knows who's in this squad, who isn't. What we do know, though, is that they basically scoured the record books of the last 4 or 5 years for players who have
retired,
have retired or aren't in the squad anymore, and picked them all. So
Darren Gough only just missed out for England.
Yes, Yeah, so it's like as Ross says, Naby's taken over the captaincy. Mohamed Shahzad is back, so
that's a good thing. That's only a good thing.
That's good. It's yeah.
Am I right in remembering that Shahzad was the one who cried after he got sent home for breaching something?
Well, he claimed he didn't have an injury, didn't he? But he also couldn't run. Now, we don't actually, to be fair, we've seen Mohamed Shahzad. We can't confirm whether being unable to run was because of an injury or just because he was unable to run. But the Afghan cricket board said it was because he was injured. I don't know. Afghanistan, like they were everybody's favourite second team, weren't they? They're probably not now. I mean, for some people, they've gone up in some people's estimations.
Not people that you want to be consorting with, I suspect.
This is a fine effort of British diplomacy on this show today.
But overall, I'm just going to go on record. Afghanistan no longer my friends.
That's a bold statement.
It's not the players' fault, is it? I mean, like,
No.
I obviously wish them all well, and it's probably not that easy.
It's awful for them. It's an awful situation.
Especially the trajectory, right, Max? So when we've been talking about Afghanistan before, it's always been around what a journey these guys have been on. Like the fact that Mujibur Rahman, Mohammed Nabi, Rashid Khan, it's been great that they and how quick they've ended up.
Look at some of the names that are in that squad that are actually supposed to be in that squad. You know, like you've mentioned Rashid Khan and Mujib, and there's Naveen Ul Haq as well, who's just had a really good outing in English domestic cricket, and Case Ahmed as well. I mean, there's some proper good players.
Everybody in the world tells you about Gurbaz.
Hazratullah.
I've never seen him.
Hazratullah, another guy who's supposedly explosive. Like he scored 162 off like 60 odd, didn't he, against Ireland? So I mean, there's so much potential excitement in that side, and it is going to be devastating, really. It's
going to be spunked up the wall, isn't it, by the Taliban? That's what it's going to be done.
That's one way of putting it. Not how I'd choose to phrase it, but
Afghanistan. I don't know. They could do something in this tournament. Any team with Rashid Khan could do something, but I suspect their batting probably isn't quite up to the task to regularly post good scores. So
their tactics were off as well, weren't they? In the ODI World Cup, their tactics were a little bit off. They didn't really understand if we're going to try and force a win. We're not, as you say, Jack. They didn't have the batting to do it. They had to rely on their bowling and continue to get that wrong.
Where do we want to go next, Max?
We are off to the West Indies. Very difficult to
go anywhere from Afghanistan, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, well, maybe 2 weeks ago we could have got out, but no, we're off to the West Indies from Afghanistan, and well, I mean, I think the West Indies. Are we though? The West Indies might have actually rivaled Afghanistan as far as bonkers selection policy goes.
Have they been taken over by the Taliban as well?
We'll just leave that one. Oh dear,
that's quite the international operation, isn't it?
No one saw it.
They've taken those American aircraft.
No one saw it coming. The West Indies selection is pretty insane. I think there's a bit of recency bias going on because the CPL is ongoing, and there's been a few good performances that seem to have factored in, although they only seem to have factored in certain cases. So yeah, I mean it's an interesting one to pick the bones out of, but Shafane Rutherford is not going because I don't know, he's not been chosen. Despite the fact he was chosen,
don't go, isn't it? Like it's not like we can just sign up for the World Cup.
Yeah, he was chosen to replace Bairstow in the IPL, but he's not been chosen by West Indies, and I believe it's fitness related. There's quite a few fitness related issues that have cropped up. Narain, I believe, also didn't pass the fitness barrier. But
he did say that he's got a good PR team because his PR came and said that Narain wasn't interested in playing for West Indies. So if it was if he did actually fail the bleep test, get get Narayan's PR team.
Well, I'll tell you, there's another man who didn't pass fitness test, which is Chris Gale, but he didn't have to pass the fitness test because he's Chris Gale, so he gets to go to the World Cup.
What is
But
the
let's be
fitness
honest,
test?
I don't actually know. I don't actually know what the fitness criteria are, but I've apparently
Pretty lax.
a lot of people haven't passed it. But I don't. Chris Gale, fair enough, right? He's Chris Gale. Let him go. Unfitness related, I believe. There's no Carlos Brathwaite of World Cup T20 winning fame. He didn't make it for some reason, but there is a man who did make it. Ravi Rampal.
Yeah, this was interesting, this one, wasn't it?
Ravi Rampal is in
He's gotta
the
be
World
pretty-
Cup squad.
I don't know. Right. So what I have heard, Max, is that he's actually a net bowler. Oh, no, he's in the squad. I mean,
He's in the
right there
squad.
in the middle.
He's in the squad.
He's in the squad.
Didn't see that one coming.
He's having quite a good CPL, but he is also playing for Trimbago Knight Riders, so I don't know if it counts. He's a T20 plus journeyman. He's been around the English domestic scene for a long time, and there have got to be some better options than Ravi Rampal. Well, we know there are, but he didn't make it. Jason Holder, he's a reserve. He's not in the squad. That's a bold choice. But England's tormentor in the extreme, Roston Chase, is on the plane. He has scored 281 runs, I think it is, in the CPL this year. So with like 3 back-to-back 50s. So he's actually on a lot of, in a good vein of form, and presumably that has got him in. But I don't recall him
He
being.
also bowls a bit tweaked, doesn't he? Which
Yeah,
might be good.
non-spinning off spin. So that's probably helped his cause, but not someone I expected to see on the plane.
Isn't he? He's a right-handed bat, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, and in that lineup, if you're looking at there's a lot of lefties in that West Indies lineup at the top order. So maybe him slotting in. Where does he bat for his CPL team? 4. So actually could be a decent option in the middle.
Yeah, I don't mind Roston Chase in there. I think that's reasonable. But there's some weird stuff. No Brathwaite, no Rutherford, Rampal in there. No Holder. It's
what about old Sheldon Cochrane?
He's a reserve as well. Shirley Thomas is in there for his pace, but he's actually had a pretty dismal CPL, or at least there have been people who've done better. I think a name that I read was Odin Smith, who's been bowling like consistently above 145 Ks, and their reason for including Shirley Thomas was pace, and they have potentially better options on that front. But I think Odin Smith might also have failed this fitness test. So I don't know what the players who aren't passing these tests have been doing with their time, or
sounds a bit
what
fishy to me,
or what these fitness tests are asking them to do. But it's all a bit weird, and it's resulted for me in a slightly odd-looking West Indies team that potentially has gone from something that could challenge to something that I think might struggle a little bit. And again, there's sort of the spin conundrum, much like New Zealand and England. There's not a huge amount in that department.
Is all right.
Yeah,
okay.
but I mean, in comparison to some of the other sides,
Boston Chase is good.
They also have some brilliant players. You could Andre Russell, Kieran Pollard. He doesn't. In T20 cricket, age is but a number. Chris Gale's 45.
42.
Batting at 3.
I'm not that excited by it.
I think the combination of pitches and age will make it hard for them to consistently perform.
Yeah,
but if they do, they'll be pretty tasty.
I think again it could be box office or like a complete implosion.
Do we like any of the teams we've talked about? India and England. We've written them all off. It's just going to be England and India.
If it turns, Bangladesh are doing all right.
Bangladesh, we said if Bangladesh are in the mixer if it turns. We did completely right off the Taliban cricket club team.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I mean, I suppose there is. I mean, you are right. There is star quality in that West Indies side, and it could all happen for them. But I just think they've left behind quite a lot of star talent for no discernible reason.
Ross, I think we've got one more team. We're going to do a special associates nations pod with somebody who knows a bit more about them. I'm not that up on Namibian cricket, I will be honest. We think we've got one nation left, haven't we, Ross? And in many ways here, we've saved the best till last.
Always.
Yeah. So if there was a country who was going to change all of its leadership just before a World Cup, which team would you put your money on? Correct, it's Pakistan. So Pakistan have introduced new coaches. So Matthew Hayden and Willem Verlander, as coaches. He's not a head coach. Joe, you alluded to he was a head coach, but he's not actually. He's not a head coach. They couldn't quite get him in there, but it is still a pretty interesting setup because Ramesh Raja's come in as a new chairman of the PCB, and instantly made this announcement. I'm not sure picking two players who have got zero coaching experience between them is the best recipe for success in this.
Do you want to know why Ramesh Raja picked him? This is a direct quote.
I've also got the quote. But you read it out. You read it out.
Matthew Hayden is Australian. That's how it starts. I mean, it might as well just end there. Matthew Hayden is Australian and has experience of winning World Cups and was a great player himself. It might be beneficial to have an Australian occupying the dressing room. And Pakistan, of course, can win the World Cup. They just need to improve their performances an extra 10%.
And become Australian.
Yeah, Vernon Philander, I know very well, so I wonder why he got the job. And he understands bowling. And he has...
Good credentials.
This is the best bit.
Good credentials. Yeah.
No, and he has a great record against Australia.
So it's the yin and the yang, isn't it? They've got the really good record for Australia and the good record against Australia.
So they'll know how to both put out a really strong team and beat themselves all at the same time, which is very much Pakistani, isn't it? In the way they approach cricket.
I can't believe that an actual person who has a job as, the director of cricket or whatever the word is.
PCB chairman.
Mm-hmm. Has used being an Australian or being good against Australian 3 times in a 4-sentence summary about why he's made Matt Hayden and Vernon Philander.
Well, at least he knows his own mind.
But the exciting thing, guys, we don't know who he's going to pick as head coach. So that's the exciting bit, I think, for this.
I can give you a clue.
Yeah, Saklan Mushtaq is currently in charge with Abdul Razak on an interim basis. And I'm just very, very surprised that they've kind of gone down this route. Like normally, Pakistan at least look kind of internally, like Misbah and Waqar Yunis were kind of head coach and bowling coach. You'd have thought they would have had something in there, but maybe the return of Mickey Arthur is on the cards. Who knows? What I would like to say on this is that Matthew Hayden actually has quite a good history, doesn't he? So, and I'm not sure all of our listeners would actually know this. So earlier today, I posted up a link to Matthew Hayden's own personal website. And some people questioned whether it was real or not. I can assure you it is very, very real. And if you go on to matthewhayden.com, you will find a nice little split screen of him and all of the different characters he's got to
His multiple personalities.
Yeah, you've got, what is it, the man, you got the speaker, you got the businessman, the cricketer, and the cook.
Don't forget the cook. Don't forget the giving back.
The giving back.
Yeah, the giving back.
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting more than they're bargained for, really. They're not just getting a coach. They're getting, maybe he should be called Mr. 360 because he can do it all. So,
is there a new personality now?
Well, it'd be the saviour of Pakistani cricket, Max.
And didn't we have somebody who knew Matthew Hayden email us once?
Yes, Scott E.G. or Scott Gilbert. He sent us a little tidbit from this and said, I think you will enjoy the fact my mate back home worked on the project at the publishers for his second cookbook. The fact that he's got more than one cookbook is ridiculous.
Prolific.
Apparently,
they do say, I'm just going to interject, they do say that, like, Pakistan cricket team's nutrition is not necessarily on point. So having a chef of the quality of Matthew Hayden just there at their beck and call, that's already an upgrade on Misbah, isn't it?
Yeah, quite potentially.
Keep going, Ross. Yeah.
I mean, the best thing about Matthew Hayden is obviously he's fluent in Urdu. So, so back onto that. So yeah, for his second cookbook, apparently tried multiple times to push the mushroom carbonara, but the guys in suits were having none of it. I mean, my mate tried a bit of the feed on the day, said it wasn't half bad, decent carbonara. I mean, that's what you're going to get, and I like this appointment. I like everything about Pakistani cricket when it comes to nearly tournaments because you have no idea which team is going to turn up.
Yeah, I'll tell you what though, Shaheen Shah Afridi fueled up on a good mushroom carbonara. That's going to be serious business. Yeah, serious business.
Well, I think they've got a half decent team here. I think, as I said, like they are a bit of a lottery. Sometimes Pakistan decide to be the best team in the world. Other times they completely crumble and forget how to play cricket. Shoaib Akhtar has obviously said something about the selection because Shoaib Akhtar says something about everything. But he's labelled the chief selector Mohammed Wazim, a puppet. Which is quite funny, but
is that because he saw the Afghanistan squad and thought, oh, maybe I've got a shout for Pakistan?
No, purely on the fact that most of these teams have actually announced that they're trying to be more data driven in their selection. So a lot of the things being, we've got this direction we're going in, and as we know, it's a load of bollocks because Asif Ali and Shah. May not have impressive numbers against their names, but hardly anyone can doubt their tremendous talent and prowess. So they've got none of these stats to back these guys up, but they are going to go on gut feel alone. So that's good from
data when it suits.
And then I think some of the other members of the team, like Shadab Khan's obviously vice captain, Babur Azam's leading the side. Obviously, when they come up against India, it'll be fantastic. But they've pretty much just got rid of all the old guard. So Sarfraz is in the team, Wahab Riaz is in the team, Shoaib Malik hasn't been included, and then left arm Mohammed Amir is obviously, I think he's retired from Pakistan duty. So they're a little bit depleted on that front. But that does give the opportunity for these youngsters to kind of have a right go at it, and maybe they'll do a great job. The most person I'm looking forward to seeing is Azam Khan, who we've all seen, who can definitely hit a big ball. So the Pakistan team, I think they'll do okay. I think they've got the know-how in the dressing room.
There will be good value always.
Very good value.
I'm looking forward to Pakistan. I think I think the right environment for a Pakistan T20 World Cup win, I reckon.
Yeah, they've got a pretty good record with UAE as well.
Yeah. Right, that's the end of the cricket podcast. Unless anyone wants to talk about anything else, have we missed anything?
No, I think we've covered the Taliban quite enough.
Pretty much everything, haven't we?
Geopolitics. We are going to be doing some IPL stuff later this week. The re-preview on Wednesday, so look out for that. Thursday, Friday on YouTube, I guess, or on your pod feed probably on Thursday. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back with IPL stuff.